Life on Mars is on Thursday at 10 Eastern, 9 Central after an all-new Grey's Anatomy on ABC. Detective Sam Tyler is stuck in 1973. And this Thursday, you'll get one step closer to finding out why. He'll discover the truth about his family and find out what kind of man his father really was. ABC's Life on Mars, Thursday's new hit show. And from the ESPN Pitch Studio with Rusty Wallace, Brad Daugherty, and Ray Abraham, Alan Bestwick watching Carl Edwards continue to lead. He's opened up a 4.5-second gap on his teammate David Reagan, who's in second. And we want to focus on some of these guys second, third, and fourth right now for a minute.
Yeah, and particularly David Reagan, Kevin Harvick, David Rudiman. I mean, all three of these guys have different things they want to prove. In particular, Reagan and Rudiman, who want to win. They want to get the winner's circle, and they're doing their best job right now, putting their best foot forward. And we have Kevin Harvick, a previous winner in our series, who has struggled this season getting to victory lane. So he has something to prove to himself, so he didn't have all winter to think about it.
Absolutely, and you've got two young guys that are coming into their own. David Reagan, we've been on him all year about, man, when you're going to break through, when you're going to break through. Looks like as good as he's running right now, today might be the day.
I'll tell you, another thing I'm looking at, guys, is Clint Boyer. He's running 7th right now. He put 2 tires on, and I think that's a really good time to do that, to see if it's going to work or not for later in the race. So a lot of strategy going on right now. Some of these guys are doing it early, but I do agree with you guys. There's some guys that need a win, that need a good run, and that old David Reagan, that cat is running good, and a lot of them are out there. So I'm pulling for them all, I'll tell you that.
If you saw our NASCAR countdown, you saw Dave Burns' interview with Tony Stewart, his last drive for Joe Gibbs Racing after 10 years. Saw a lot of emotion from Tony, heard a lot of emotion. Wouldn't it be something if he could end his time with that team with a victory? And right now he's driven that number 20 car up to 5th place.
Yes, he has. Tony's got a good run going, got a good, solid, stable-looking race car. They had a good pit stop, so I think Tony Stewart's definitely a threat to get the victory lane today.
So we are about a third of the way through this race. Right now, Carl Edwards has got himself a pretty big lead, Doc.
Indeed he does. Exactly what he has to do, guys. He had to come here and lead laps and try to lead the most laps. Could not finish worse than third and hope that somehow he could get maximum points and pray that something would happen to the 48 car, which right now has not been the case as Jimmy Johnson is in 11th position.
His biggest competition today is probably going to come from his teammate David Reagan. Right now he's beating him about 2/10 a lap. Here's another teammate that he may have to worry about because this car's been running good week in and week out.
Back-to-back third-place finishes. And what did Rusty say? Jamie McMurray last week went out to Phoenix and got on one knee and proposed to his longtime fiance. He said, when you do that, you know you're going to have some debt, so you got to drive hard.
You got to get up on that wheel, boy.
He's driving hard. You can see him working the steering wheel as he came off of turn 4 there. A little bit better off of turn 2 there. Jamie?
Well, DJ, of course, with the runs that he's had the last few weeks, I had to ask his crew chief, Larry Carter, what is the difference? He said, well, there's a few things that are different. He said, first of all, this new car, Jamie has just taken a long time to adapt to it. But Jamie is an old school driver, he said, kind of like Rusty Wallace. And we know Rusty Wallace worked with Larry Carter, crew chief, we see on the right of your screen. And Rusty, I just want to bring this up to you. He said that you guys were facilitators with the old car. You'd come in, you'd say what the conditions were, and you'd say what you want changed. Apparently, they can't do that with this car.
Well, this car is a lot more technical. There's no doubt about that. But Larry Carter is old school. Carter has got so much common sense, it's incredible. I mean, he can talk to Jamie, he can read his eyes, and these two guys have worked so good together. I hate to see this relationship end, because in my mind, it just now starting to get some good momentum. But I tell you, this combo is fantastic right now, Jamie.
You heard her talking about this car. You know, you can't really, the driver just can't tell you what to do to this car. And one reason is a lot of times I've talked to these crew chiefs in the garage. They say that it's hard for the driver to really tell them what the car's doing because you have to just slide this car around so much. You really never get a good feel for where the car is.
Yeah, between everything you have going on with this car, with the splitter in the front, you don't have a lot of travel there. You're coil binding these springs, the shock absorber there to run out. It's just hard to feel. You're working hard in the car, and it just makes it more difficult to tell them what you want. You have to take a minute and really examine and go over each lap and decide exactly what your car is doing, because what it's doing in one end, it might not be doing in the other. It makes it difficult for these drivers and crew chiefs to really cipher out what exactly is happening with the race car.
And these teams are building 3rd, 4th, and 5th generation cars. In fact, the car that Carl Edwards is driving, I think, is a 3rd generation car. They keep getting better every time they go build a new one.
Yeah, with the old car, you would just drive in the corner, wheel it to the left, a little bit like what we see Carl Edwards do. But you see he's having to saw it just a little bit. most of the time you're seeing these guys saw that wheel back and forth all the way through the corner. And when you're doing that, it's really hard to tell exactly what the car is doing. Now you can make speed, which Carl knows how to make speed doing this. And he's one of the guys that has a great feel for what his car really is doing.
Mike?
And I can tell you what it's doing. He just came over the radio, guys, and said the car's real free on throttle, and they need to tighten it up next stop. But he did give Bob a lot of credit. He said whatever adjustments you made the last stop, which were only air pressure, he said that really helped. Expect more of that throughout the day.
You can really hear him working the throttle there as he's going through the corner. That means he just doesn't have the feel of the back end that he would like to have, but he's doing it better than anybody else right now, so it's not working too bad.
Carl has a 4-second lead over David Reagan in second spot. Now the 48 car of Jimmy Johnson inching his way toward the top 10. He is currently 11th. Dave.
Hey guys, I just wanted to talk Chase a little bit. You know, Carl has not done poorly at all in this chase. He has equaled Jimmy in a lot of ways in the way he's run. But the one thing that Jimmy hasn't done is run terrible anywhere. His worst finish in the chase was 15th at Texas. And remember when we thought it was going to be like an 8th place finish would win the chase and the average would win the chase every year? Well, Jimmy, in his first year that he won in 2006, he averaged an 11th place finish through 9 races. Last year, they bested that to 4.7, and this year, through 9 races, average finish 4.6. They just haven't finished awful any time.
Yeah, the days of winning a championship with a 10th place average finish are over as long as Carl Edwards and Jimmy Johnson are out there putting up numbers like they are.
That's why I just have to laugh. I've read a lot of stuff this week about, oh, we got to change the chase and change the point. Hey, if a team and driver are going to go out and do this kind of thing, doesn't make any difference what kind of system you put out there. They're going to be the champions. Carl's had a great chase. He's had a great year, but he had those 2 races that hurt him at Talladega and Charlotte. Jimmy Johnson hasn't had that. They've done their job for all 9 and now 10 races so far.
Jimmy Johnson, Carl Edwards, a battle for the championship that should go down to the wire here tonight.
Hold on to your seats and brace yourselves. It's every driver's dream and we're down to 12. Time to see who wants it most.